Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing? Thought I'd make a little video about Sports Collecting 101. There's probably 50 million ways you can say a lot of these things, but this is just a couple general things that you can do and see and look for and avoid. For the most part, anytime you're collecting anything, whether it be a painting, a watch, whatever it is, old Barbie doll, whatever. Prices can fluctuate depending on seasons, hype, you name it. Somebody dies, or whatever's attached to it, things can go up and down drastically. So, the difference with a lot of people is you have certain types of people. What is their motivation? Why are they into any of this? So one type of person is basically your flipper, somebody who sees something and sees the opportunity to make money off of it. So they generally will buy extremely low, hoping the person doesn't know what they have, or sometimes they might pay a little high because they have somebody already in their circle that they know they can sell it to, and they're paying a premium for it. So it can work many ways, but for the most part, a flipper is someone who's buying something and they're going to sell it relatively quick, similar to a day trader in the stock market. They buy generally at low and sell for some kind of gain. Sometimes they're not even looking to make thousands. They're happy with $20, $30, which again you see a lot of these YouTubers go to these card shows and they're looking in these dollar bins and things like that, which is how most people start anyways. Is you find like a $20 card in a dollar bin and you turn around and sell it for $5 to $10, and you multiply that times 50 100 cards, you make a little money. You keep rinse and repeat. So nothing wrong with that. Again, whatever type or style that you do, there's no wrong or right, or you're not bad or good. There's just different aspects of this hobby. Another particular type of person is a dealer, generally someone who has a shop or is heavily invested in product. And it's in their best interest to constantly turning product, not holding product. You'll see them when you go in their shops or even in card shows, they got like 500 boxes of cards. Generally, they get them at a probably 60 to 70% of what the item cost, and then they even pay up to 100% of cost, and they add their margin to it, which is usually $20 to $100, $200, depending on the hype of the card brand itself. So, for example, you can buy a Prism blaster box. You might only pay $50 for it, but after a season goes by, that blaster went from $50 to $300. So in a lot of ways, sometimes that's sort of like an investment for them, where they buy a bunch of those and sit on them for a year and see if any of that class stands out, and then they can sell their boxes for higher. Or you got people who, during the boxes are not even been out a month, and so many people are buying them, so they can turn around and they can sell it for more than what they got it for, which is why you can't find any boxes of cards in Walmart, Targets, and et cetera, is because everybody's trying to do the same thing. Everybody's trying to buy up all the boxes and either one, immediately sell them for $20, $30 plus a box, or whatever the amount they charge, or they try to, they open it all up trying to hit something. And that's what most of the newer type of people, they see all this glitz and fireworks, and they want to go and get these box of cards and think they're going to hit, a 101 or whatever the hype rookie of the year is, or potential one. which usually they fall flat on their face. But also with dealers and flippers, generally if you're going to go sell your card to them, cards or collection or whatever you have, they're more than likely not going to pay you nowhere near what it's worth. So let's just say, for example, that you have a card that's worth $1,000. Anywhere you go, everybody, it's widely accepted this card is worth $1,000. Nobody argues, nobody bats an eye. This card is $1,000. So they're going to generally offer you somewhere between $650 to $800 for this card. And depending on how desperate you are or strapped for cash or whatever, you might sell it for $700, $800. And they're going to immediately turn around and either use it to trade up, or they're just going to outright just sell it to somebody else very quickly. Or they might hold on to it. It depends. The flipper, they're going to immediately get rid of the card for the most part. That's why, again, you see these people at card shows and stuff. They'll go look around and sit around for 2 hours. They'll find that one card, and they buy it for $500, $600. They turn around and walk 10 tables down and sell it for $750. Or they find somebody out in the lobby or whatever. Again, I'm not knocking it. It's a very lucrative business. If you have the insight and the connections to do these kind of things, there's nothing wrong with that. But in general, if you go selling a card to one of these type of people, you're not going to get the most for it. Again, you can sell it on eBay, then you got your fees and shipping and buyer's remorse and et cetera, et cetera. So no matter how you do it exchange, there's always some pros and cons to it. Another type of person in this particular hobby is your straight up collector. You hear the term, I PC so and so. That's personal collection. So generally, like myself, I collect Peyton Manning cards, as you see. So I PC him, and that's my collect. That's who I collect. I don't flip them. I don't, I just buy. I generally rarely, it's been a long time since I sold one of my cards, and in a way I kicked myself and asked for some of the things that I did so, but, live and learn, So some of these cards that you see in front of you, so for example, this is a Bowman Best Refractor. This is a Bowman Preview Refractor. This is another Bowman Best Refractor. This is a Upper Deck Black Diamond Triple, my Titanium, and this card is a Pop 1 card. So again, all these type of cards, I could easily sell these for $500 each, no questions asked, but I would be losing, not in the sense of what I paid for it, but the potential that I could get for them. These particular first 4 cards at any given day, they fluctuate from $600 to $1,200, depending on the buyer, whatever's going on in the news, hype, et cetera, et cetera. So I could sell it for $500 each very easily. But I would be stupid unless, again, I was just strapped for cash and I just had to have the money, or I was going to use that money to purchase a bigger card. Because in general, most people want to keep moving up. I'm not that type of person. I value my collection as individuals. I'm not trying to consolidate all my cards into, the one card. Don't get me wrong. If somebody approached me with a 9.5 or PSA 10 contenders, like a 8 to a 8 to a 9, 10 auto, I would do it in a heartbeat. Because I know that long term wise, it would be worth more than the individuals altogether. But for the most part, that doesn't generally happen. So I'm good with what I got. Another type of person. Anyways, back to the collectors. Generally, these people pay almost 80 to over 100% of what a card is quote worth, because they have a stronger interest in the particular card because it's something that completes something that they're trying to make. You hear the term rainbows all the time, where you're trying to get each color of each card. So, you want the base card, the green one, the pink one, the red one, blue, etc., all the way to your superfractor, which is your 101. Depending on the set, some sets don't have a superfractor. They have some type of 101, or they have one that's up to 25 or 5, whatever it is. And generally, if you have one of the cards that they need to complete that rainbow, they potentially will pay 100%, 150% to get that card, because the less of a print run there, it's harder to get, so they're more than likely to pay a little more to get that card. But in general, if you're going to sell a card or barter a card, you'd be better off doing it with a collector than a dealer or a flipper, because a dealer and a flipper is just trying to basically make money off of it. That's their bottom line, which is understandable. They have a lot of overhead. They're heavily invested in particular items and things and cost and what they have to continue to do what they do. But a collector is just basically someone who's just sitting on the sidelines, and all they're doing is just waiting for stuff to plop in their lap. For example, me, I bought all these cards, specifically these 4. I didn't pay more than $100 each for them. So no matter what I sell them for, I'm straight profit. I almost, 10 times X my money easily, because what I got it for at the time. But again, I'm that long-term investor. I am in no hurry to sell just because, you got market hype 2.0. Everybody's selling everything 10 times. Again, it's not my interest to really sell right now, because I know even longer term, I will still outperform or outdo that, because trends come and go. For example, the 85 McGwire Olympic card. That card seems to jump in the spotlight every couple years. It goes down to as low as $100 and as high as $5,000-$6,000. I mean, that card, you constantly see that card go up and down. This is a graded version, of course. That's a good example. Or as in recent times, your 86 Fleer Jordan, it goes from 50 grand to over $1 million, which is ludicrous in my mind. And I would never pay $1 million for that particular card. To me, it's not that rare, or doesn't have that much interest in for me. Or most people look at it more as a status or bragging rights kind of thing. Even your most hardcore Jordan collector, I'm sure they would have already had that card, and they're not going to turn around and try to buy another one for $1 million when they was getting it for, under 10 grand. That's just my opinion. Anyway, so another type of person in this particular hobby is, your fellow YouTubers. They tend to hype things up, try to sell things to you, or trying to point you in a certain direction. And then you have a lot of them, don't get me wrong, that are just giving out general information, their opinions, and they don't expect nothing from you or want anything from you. They're just putting their stuff out there, like myself. I can care less if you listen to anything I say, or I'm just doing me and showing off my cards, because from what I can tell, there's not very many people who are collecting what I'm collecting, or they're all undercover. I go to shows and I show off some of the cards I have, and everybody just looks at me, in awe because, nobody else is collecting that. And I've also heard a lot of particular, dealers at shows, they think Peyton Manning's an asshole or whatever, and they don't fool with him. Whatever. Whatever floats your boat. But, this is who PC. I've been doing it. I mainly started getting into it the year he got hurt. I just looked at long-term wise and thought, this is someone that I can invest into. And as you see, it's pretty much panned out for me. I'm not losing any money. I'm constantly gaining. Am I doubling and tripling every year? No. But it's very similar to Mickey Mantle cards. It's never going down. It's just constantly trickling up. You're pretty much safe with that. I'm not worried about him getting hurt again. I'm not worried about him losing the Super Bowl. I'm not worried about him doing something stupid because, from the time he's entered the league, he's pretty much steady even. He makes funny videos. He's on TV. He's about to be on TV again with Eli, and they're going to announce Monday Night Football games. So it's constantly keeping his name out there. So maybe that might bring more collectors or people interested in him. You never know. But anyways, for most part, you see a lot of these YouTubers, and they're always pushing these particular products or apps and utilities and, things like that. And they're getting paid to do this, which I understand. Again, I'm not knocking people for trying to make money. If you want to make money, yeah, in the long run, we'd all love to make money what we do. Nothing wrong with that. But you have to look at, they have their agenda, and that's their focus. So it's like anything that you walk by, you see some shiny object, and then you get that salesman comes up to you and starts giving you all this information about telling you how great it is, how wonderful it is, how it makes your life easier, and so forth and so on, and basically getting you to buy into it, But for the most part, no matter what it is, a lot of these things is very unnecessary. Can they make things simpler? Sure. So for example, this market movers tool, I just personally don't see the point in spending $50 or whatever it is a month to have access to what's been sold when there's several examples of other websites and tools that are free. Particularly for me, I just use history search in eBay. Do I need to know what a card sold for 3 years ago? Not really, because that's kind of irrelevant. And if you in the process of trying to sell a card today, if I wanted to go sell all these next week, what it sold for 3 years ago is irrelevant. People are not going to take that information. They want to know what has happened in the last 2 weeks for the most part. They're not looking. They don't care what happened last December. They don't care what happened last Halloween. It's irrelevant for them, for the person who's trying to buy that card for you, or even a collector. They're not going to pay you what it was worth 2 years ago unless it's lower and it benefits them. For the most part, everybody wants current market value, and that's very subjective for in many ways. So, for example, this card right here, this is a Pop One card. There's only 2 PSA 10 versions of it, and that's it. There's just not that many around, and there's really no comps to find this card. You just won't find it. The last one was me buying this card. I basically paid with eBay fees and all that, blah, 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 about $620. Other than that, there's no history of this card for being sold or anything. So, in a way, if I was to go sell this card, I could pretty much ask for what I want, and the person either is going to accept it or they don't. There's a PSA 9 of that for like $3,300, and I think there's a PSA 10. They're asking $14,999 or whatever it is. But again, ain't nobody gonna buy it at that price. I listed that car for, I don't know, about a couple weeks for 4,500. Again, no takers on that, and I'm fine with that. I'm not in no hurry to really move that card. And then this card right here is a Pop 101 card. There's a couple different versions of it. Recent one, 9, sold for very, very low, but this particular one, there's only one of them. There's no other. It's just a promo card. Again, that would be something that I would sell to a collector, not a flipper, not a dealer, not a YouTuber. I'm going to sell that card to a person who really actually collects Peyton Manning cards, because that would complete their set. There's a guy on YouTube right now, his name Colazo Effects. He's a very hardcore Peyton Manning collector. He has basically almost close to 3,400 Mannings. They're all different. So that's the type of person that if I was going to sell my cards to, I would sell it to him. Because one, I would get more bang for my buck. Two, I know that they would actually go to someone who's actually going to keep them and not turn around and try to sell them the next day or the next week. But there's not very many people that are in this hobby, for that particular type reason. Most people are very short-termed, and they're, basically just a bunch of day traders in a manner of speaking. So this brings us to a good point, is when to buy and when to sell, and to who do you sell it to. So right now you had week 1 of the NFL just finished. Of course, you still got tonight's game. So most people are saying, okay, let's dump all our Trevor Lawrence cards. Let's buy all the Kyler Murray cards. Let's dump all our Dak Prescott's cards. Let's get rid of all our Baker Mayfield. Again, if you had those type of knee-jerk reactions, you're going to end up losing a lot of money, I think. Again, this is my perspective. Before you start buying these cards, and especially cards where you're spending hundreds and thousands of dollars for a particular card, you have to have some kind of personal investment into it, some kind of attachment to it. Because if you're having that flipper mentality, believe it or not, a lot of those people lose a lot of money. And, but they do it so much it kind of offsets itself and they make a little money. But for the general or, average day Joe, they don't have a budget to 50 grand plus a year to bankroll this. Most people only have, maybe 100 or 2 disposable income every month. So when they go out and buy all these cards of whatever the hype player of the month is, and then they don't pan out, and then they're stuck with that bag. Because at any given moment, with how the market is, you can have a card that goes from $10 to $100. Now, are you always going to pick that out? No. Can you? Yeah, sure you could. But then you have to also think that how many other people are doing the exact same thing. So you're either first or you're last in a lot of ways with that. But a lot of people have these knee-jerk reactions, and that's why I think basketball collectors are all on crack. Is because they look at this very tiny window. Okay, this person just scored 30 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 10 blocks. Oh God, we just got to buy all of it. And you'll have a player go from $50 to $800 in less than 24 hours, which I think is completely stupid. So let's just say you went and bought that card, or cards, or whatever, and then the next game they're on the bench, or they only score 6 points. Now you just spent $800, on all this, and now it just dropped. So somebody's always getting caught with something. It's not good to have those knee-jerk reactions or buying into hype. In baseball, you got your Jason Dominguez that hasn't even stepped on the field in the major league, and people are paying all this exorbitant amount of money for his cards, and he hasn't even stepped up to the plate once. I just don't understand the concept of paying thousands of dollars for someone who hasn't even got on the field or court yet. They haven't produced anything. The prices that you're paying for these things is equivalent to someone who's won a couple rings. They done set a bunch of records. They got 4 or 5 MVPs. They're a well-established person. They're on T-shirts and backpacks and hats, and they got their own shoe, and you're paying that kind of money for these people, and they don't have any of that. And what's the likelihood of that person to pan out for that? But you done put in thousands of dollars to this person, and then it falls on your face. I don't understand it. That's why, again, the direction I went in was, my Peyton Manning collection, because I cannot lose at this point. Only thing I can do is gain. So my suggestion for any newer person into the hobby is to pick someone relatively established, or you can just go balls deep and pick somebody that's never even touched the field and just go all in on it, and see what happens. Again, it's high risk, high reward. Or you can dabble around in a lot of little stuff. But at some point, it's going to come down to basically, what is your budget? How much are you willing to risk? How much are you willing to spend? Do you have $500 a month in disposable income? Do you have $1,000? Do you have $10,000? I mean, are you going to be one of these people who go on to 40 sports card shows a year, flying in, getting hotels and all that stuff? Can you establish yourself to do that? If you can, wonderful. I wish I could do that, but I'm not in a position to do that. But I'm sure that when you see a lot of those people doing that type of thing, you don't see what's in the background. Their overhead, their expenses. What do they do? What do they have to do to continue to live that particular lifestyle and the things that they do? Who's bankrolling them? How are they selling out? Because again, a lot of these type of people are attached to some brand or some other entity other than themselves. Very rarely do you have a completely solo person that is, can go out there and do these type of things. Anyways, for the most part, when you get into this hobby, try to research whoever it is that you want to potentially get into. Okay? Learn what it's worth, what it potentially can be worth, and how much are you willing to invest in that. Because, again, it's an investment. Are you prepared to lose all of that? Because 9 times out of 10, you're not going to always get in what you put, you're not going to get back what you put in. Unless you just have someone that's in your corner, pointing you out and as you learn. But for the most part, you're going to mess up a lot. You're going to lose a lot of money. Don't go buy a bunch of packs and boxes. True, you can hit some good things, but 9 times out of 10, you're not hitting nothing. You see all these YouTube and box breaker people. They're buying these boxes of natural treasures for $4,000+ and they get absolutely trashed. They get like $200 worth of card up. I mean, how long can you continue to do that before you just go broke? uh, you know, however you want to work it. I'm just saying that before you go buying stuff, do your own research. Have some kind of personal investment or attachment to that particular player. So if you do lose, you're not really losing. Uh, Figure out, do you want to be this flipper type person? Do you want to be a potential dealer? Or do you just want to be a serious long-term collector? Find out what direction that you really want to go into. Now you can sort of dabble into all of them at the same time, but ultimately one of them is going to pay off more than the other. Again, I'm not knocking the different types of people and what they do. Each person does what works for them. I don't have $20,000, $50,000 to walk into a card show and dump on some hype person and then turn around and sell it for 20% profit. I can't do that. Where you see a lot of these people, they go to these shows and they do things like that, and it seems glamorous and all, but they're just showing you the ones that they actually win on. They're not showing you where they go and spend, $500,000 on a card, and then a month later it's only worth $300,000. Now to me, that'd be a major hit, losing $200,000, and that's what happens when you're buying these really big cards or really rare cards. They're very volatile. They can go up and down in any given moment. That's very, very high risk. Even you see in these LeBrons and, some of these rare Jordan cards, one day they're 10,000, the next day they're 40,000, and they're back down to under 10,000, and it constantly fluctuates because, believe it or not, you have groups of individuals who are hyping and maneuvering these card sales and stuff. For me, it's very mind-boggling that a card can go from $500 to $6K in a week. It just doesn't make sense. There's no way to really explain that unless you have people manipulating it, and then you have the sheep herd. Oh, I gotta get that, and then they go and spend that money to get it, and then you got another person that does it and repeats, and then next thing you know, that card crashes back down, and they're stuck holding that card. And that's why you see a lot of these people trying to sell some of these cards at tens of thousands of dollars, because that's what they put into it, and now they're stuck holding that card. And they're probably going to be holding some of these cards for a very, very long time. Lesson in life, everybody's out to screw each other. It is what it is, kind of thing. It's sad, but that's the truth of it. But I'm going to wrap this up. If you have any questions or, personal opinions about that, hit me. Leave a comment. Leave a like. Subscribe. I'm rolling with my little 2 subscribers. Do I really care if I get 10,000? It doesn't bother me. Most of this is just personal documentation of how my collection is evolving. I can really care if it gets big or not, I hope somebody watches some of my videos and they learn a little thing. I think that's the goal of it. Maybe I can save somebody from getting into a stupid situation, because, ultimately we're here to, for most people, we try to teach other people and, learn from each other. Because a lot of people don't have, that group of guidance or someone to tell them, hey, this is how it is, and then there's some people who are just bullish and not going to listen to anybody. They're going to do what they do, and that's fine. Anyways, I hope everybody have a good day, and we'll see you next video.